Minecraft is a fascinating game. Huge mountains, wide open plains, and an entire world that can be shaped on the player's whim. Yet, Minecraft's segmented development history has left some aspects of the game overlooked. I've been playing Minecraft for 13 years now. Over time, I've developed a good understanding of how Minecraft is developed, including getting multiple ideas added to the game. That's why I put together a collection of over 100 ideas I believe could improve the Minecraft experience. Today we continue our journey exploring these ideas. This is the list. Add a Minecart launcher rail. You might have recently seen the posts about Minecart launchers in the latest experimental snapshots. These posts have set the max minecart speed to 1000 and then have minecarts build up tremendous speed to launch villagers, mobs, and players about 100 blocks through the air. This mechanic is really fun, but sadly it will never be in default Minecraft. This is because the default minecart speed is only 8, and even if they set the minecart speed to be higher, it is almost certain that the speed won't be set above about 80. At higher speeds, minecarts aren't so much minecarts as they are teleportation machines, and for a game that needs to run on phones, this would spell disaster for many players. But fear not. There is another way. If there were a dedicated launcher rail that would launch minecarts high into the air, we could still have fun with this mechanic. This rail would do exactly as anticipated. Launch minecarts a significant distance through the air without the corresponding max minecart speed rule needing to be crazy high. In this way, we could have our cake and eat it too. Phantom membranes should act as an invisible die for banners. The idea is simple. Phantom membranes would be a 17th die for banners. Using a phantom membrane would effectively cut out that section of the banner. If you, for instance, put the bottom triangle die as a phantom membrane, you get a banner with the bottom triangle cut out of it. If you use the circle template plus phantom membrane, you'd have a banner with the hole cut in the middle of it. The perforated edges, you would get a banner with the wavy edge, etc. Players should be able to place nether quartz similar to amethyst. This is pretty straightforward and I think would be extremely popular. Give players the ability to place elemental quartz down in the world. It'd give another nice decor item that players could use to decorate blocks that aren't soil blocks, which are sorely lacking in the game, and would give more reason to harvest and farm quartz beyond the block. Many more things should be placeable in the Minecraft world. This includes things like the clock, glass bottles, and potions. Why not allow players to use these unique items as decoration within builds? It would be so incredible to have the clock placeable on a desk in an office, or potions placed on a tabletop in a laboratory. These are updating existing items to be more useful and more engaging, allowing players to be more creative and expressive within their builds. The textures and items already exist, they can be put in item frames. Let's bring them into the actual 3D space and make them real now. This next idea comes courtesy of Good Times with Scar. The Creaking Heart should stream particles between two players when each hold a Creaking Heart. This idea comes from the unique mechanic that the Creaking Mob and Creaking Heart have. When damaged, the Creaking and Creaking Heart emit particles between one another, directing the player where to find the Creaking Heart within a pale oak tree. So if two players each held a Creaking Heart, there should be a stream of particles showing the direction from one player to another. It could potentially allow players to find one another within caves or find teammates nearby. For instance, if someone took a wrong turn in the nether, they could end up hundreds of blocks away. Having the Creaking Heart gently guide players via creaking particles toward the nearest player who also is holding a Creaking Heart would be a great way to assist players in helping others who may lose their way. Add fog and white pumpkins to the Pale Garden biome. Why? Adding fog to the Pale Garden biome would add much more of an eerie feeling to the biome. I'm not talking about making it so the player can't see anything, but I am talking about adding a haze to the game that would float around the player a bit. When combined with the sounds and desaturated textures, it would turn the Pale Garden biome into a truly unique and exciting place. This is especially true at night when the eye blossoms could be mistaken for the creaking through the fog. As for the white pumpkins, as it currently stands, in the Pale Garden, there are a total of 3 plants, including one that's just a desaturated moss texture. Wow, such diversity. Very garden-esque. We need white pumpkins. The white pumpkins, of course, could also be placed and sheared just like normal pumpkins, even outside the Pale Garden biome. Add an Ender Depot. What is an Ender Depot? It's a chest-like block that can expand the player's capacity to hold blocks of a certain type by remotely syncing with the player's inventory. If you're familiar with Shadow Tech discovered by the technical Minecraft community in previous updates, it's effectively that in block form. The best way to see how this works is with an example. Let's say I have an Ender Depot hooked up to a hopper with a chest above it. And in my inventory is 10 dirt blocks. If I now put 1 dirt into the top chest so it feeds through the hopper and into the Ender Depot, that dirt is then moved from the Ender Depot to my inventory remotely, so I now have 11 dirt. If I add a few more dirt, then a few more dirt come into my inventory. This continues up until I reach a full stack of 64 dirt, at which point the Ender Depot pushes no more dirt unless the stack size becomes less than 64 in my inventory once again. If I add another block not in my inventory to the Ender Depot, it does nothing. What this means is, let's say you're making a big project with stone blocks. If you feed stone into the Ender Depot will ensure that no matter how many stone you use for your build, you will always have 1 full stack of stone in your inventory. That is, of course, until you run out of stone feeding into the Ender Depot. This also means that any unstackables cannot be used with the Ender Depot. 3 Ender Crystals on the top row, 2 Echo Shards on the sides, an Ender Chest in the center, and 3 Crying Obsidian on the bottom would give you 1 Ender Depot. This Ender Depot can be fed with hoppers on all sides, and you could take items from a player's inventory with the hopper underneath the depot. This would be a great way to aid the problems with the player inventory while not physically expanding the inventory itself, which I've covered already in a previous video. Players can hook up their storage to keep filling things like dirt, wood, or other common building blocks so they effectively never run out. They could also set up item filters so that any mob drops or minerals could be sucked out and returned to their base fairly quickly and get processed automatically. Make no mistake, the Ender Depot is an endgame item, something that is sorely lacking in the current game. It requires you to have gone to the ancient city and the Nether and slain Endermen, Blaze, and Ghasts, as well as acquiring Crying and regular Obsidian. This would be one of, if not the hardest to obtain item in the game, but it would also be extremely powerful and useful for endgame players. It would alleviate many of the problems of inventory that currently plague the game, namely that it is difficult to carry enough items at once to complete big projects. Even with shulker boxes, this is sometimes the case. This would allow players to effectively have unlimited storage if they can supply their depots with enough blocks. Allow bundles to be undyed similar to shulker boxes. Currently you can dye bundles any of 16 different colors, which is great. The issue is once they're dyed, you can't undye them. You can dye them a different color, but not remove the dye to return them to the default state. I propose, much like the shulker boxes, right-clicking a dyed bundle on a cauldron filled with water removes the dye from the bundle. It would also reduce the cauldron's water level by 1. If that couldn't be done, perhaps something like resin could be combined with the bundle to remove the color. This next idea comes to us courtesy of Isumavoid. Add a way to specify which Minecraft version to use for worlds. This is an issue because while most things in Minecraft are forwards compatible with vanilla Minecraft, not everything is when it comes to custom maps. This idea would allow map makers to lock maps to specific versions of the game so that players could only open the maps in those versions. This would prevent a lot of players from breaking custom maps by opening them in past or future versions where the map won't work. This would be a great quality of life feature. Add oxidized copper golems to trail ruins. I think it's safe to say that most players see the trail ruins as a if I happen to find one, I might check it out type of structure. But rarely do players ever actively seek them out. This idea aims to change that by putting between 1 and 3 copper golems into each trail ruin. The copper golems would be in an oxidized statue form buried within the ruin, and it would be up to the players to unearth them. The best part would be that you could unoxidize the copper golems by right-clicking them with an axe, thus bringing the golem back to life, saving them from their eternal tomb of the ruins. This would be incredible, and players would definitely want to seek out these ruins with the opportunity to save the buried copper golems. It almost turns the trail ruins into a sort of side quest that the player can choose to undergo at any time. The reward of potentially saving a few long-forgotten button-pushing gremlins would definitely make the trail ruins more valuable. Well, friends, as the end of the list draws near, our time together is coming to an end. But as they say, when one season ends, another begins. And then another season begins. And then another season begins. Until next time, happy crafting.